Welcome to Run With It, the show that brings you untapped business ideas from successful entrepreneurs. My name is Chris Justin, and I'm here with Ethan Janney. Ethan, how's it going today?
It's going pretty great, man. Time zones are on my mind because we're recording. You and I are early in the morning, and our guest today is later in the evening. So.
Not too early. It's 9 a.m. here. Michael is speaking to us from
here.
Yeah, I know. You wake up at like 4 a.m. sometimes.
Don't make judgments about what's early and what's not. Let's just say we all have our different clocks.
I know, but you're a guy who likes to get up and at it early in the day. You did your crazy like running 5 miles every 4 hours.
Yeah, right. There you go.
So yeah. Tell us about Michael, though.
Yeah. Let's talk about our guest today. So his name is Michael Bereslavsky, and he's the founder and CEO of Domain Magnate, which is a micro private equity firm that acquires and operates online businesses. And since he's so well-versed in online businesses because of his existing profession, he's going to bring us an idea related to that. Welcome to the program, Michael.
Hi, Chris and Adam. Glad to be here.
Yeah, excited to talk through this idea here, obviously with your experience at Domain Magnate, not Magnet.
Did I say Magnet?
I don't know. It was unclear, but Domain Magnate.
I meant to say Magnet.
Magneto. Sure. Yeah, I think you're well poised to talk through this idea. Online business marketplace. There are plenty of them available right now. We'll talk through exactly what that is. It's a huge opportunity. Companies like Empire Flippers, Shopify Exchange Marketplace are doing this, Flippa. Why does the world need another online business marketplace?
So there is different online businesses, and you might have a successful and profitable online business. And if you want to sell it, where would you go? So you would go and post it for sale on one of those marketplaces like Empire Flippers. But what I'm proposing is a marketplace that solves another problem, not a problem of selling and buying a property, an online business, but a problem that right now there are many investors. There are thousands and thousands of investors looking to acquire an online business, but they don't have the skills to operate a business. Let's say they would acquire a content website that generates some income from affiliate offers, but they don't know how to manage it, so they want to invest in it. And they want to find someone who would be able to operate that business, and also someone who would be able to help them do the due diligence and make sure that everything is proper with the numbers, and then to operate and grow it. And so that marketplace would allow the investors to find an operator, connect with an operator, have them work together to acquire a deal and grow the business.
I mean, even as someone who's done business online, I've thought about buying a different business, but it does sound kind of intimidating. And I worry about getting myself in too deep, right? Like, oh yeah, I can run this business that, has like a online drop shipping, shoes or something like that, right? And then, oh man, what if I step in and there's a lot of stuff that gets out of control, or I, lose key employees, or I don't know how to market properly, or whatever it is, or I just don't have a plan for growth. Because, why would you buy a business if you're not going to do something, significant with it? So I think that's very interesting, a place to connect these type of people.
Yeah. So it's a way of bringing an operator together with an investor, and then they go separately and find an opportunity to acquire and build. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So right now, you can buy a profitable online business for an average of something like 3 times the annual profit, right? So let's say you want to invest $100,000. You can expect to buy a business that's earning about $35,000 in profit annually. But the thing is, and I've seen that happen so many times. People go and they look at the marketplace, they find a deal, they buy a business, and then they just don't know what to do with it. And a couple months later, they forget to renew the hosting bill, or they forget to renew the domain name, and it's just gone completely. And it happens so often. And this is one of the easiest things to manage, of course, just renewing things.
Thinking through this, it seems like it might be harder to find a good operator, someone that you trust, than it would be to find the money. seems like there's tons of cash out there. People are looking for investments. Stock market is super high right now. So that part seems easy to me. How do you find a good operator?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why you need a well-run marketplace where you would be able to have new people maybe take on some smaller projects. Let's say someone wants to buy a very small site, so someone would be operating it, and they get some feedbacks, kind of the same way you do on freelance websites, right? Have you ever used Upwork or freelancer.com? You probably have. Then that's how it works. If someone is new, they do some small projects, they get some feedbacks when they do bigger projects, and then later on, once they're ready to take on a bigger project, you would be able to see that they have like 15 different feedbacks and they're all positive and they have a whole history and there is a set of skills and they can really showcase a few examples.
If someone were doing if they have completed 15 deals or they've got 15 pieces of feedback, even if they were smaller, would they not then have enough capital themselves to be able to do this without an investor?
Well, I can tell you from personal experience. So we've been in this business for more than 15 years now and buying and managing and selling different businesses like that. And we've only started working with investors about 3 years ago, like three and a half years ago, because what I've realized is that we've accumulated quite a bit of capital. So we could have, of course, continued buying deals directly, but it's limited. So you can only handle so many deals at the same time. And then if you want to increase your capacity, you have to like grow very quickly. So it's kind of a slow growth.
Gotcha. So it's a means of scaling for you.
Yeah. So like let's say you can afford a $10,000 business to buy, but you want to buy $1 million business, that would take way too long.
And that makes sense from an operator standpoint because their time is limited. So if they want to leverage their returns to work on a much larger business, they may need that outside capital.
I know Chris and I have been on our own journeys of operating our own businesses, consultancies, whatever. And this process of scaling is something that we've dealt with on our own levels. But I often hear these issues that people have. Oh, I was operating $100,000 a year revenue business, and then I wanted to scale to $1 million revenue year business, and like I had to think completely differently. Like it was a whole different scenario, right? And so, this idea we just raised of, I can operate $100,000 business, so why don't I get investors and operate $1 million business, and everybody will make out better?
It depends on the business model. If it's a content business, and we are talking about something like an affiliate blog or an informational website with product reviews, there is not so much difference because a $100,000 website and a $1 million website revenue, it's kind of similar. You just have more content. You'll probably have more writers, more revenues, like more different things more levers to pull to improve things. But overall, if you manage the $100,000 business quite successfully, you'll probably be good at managing $1 million business. Mm. But if we look at other models, for example, a SaaS business or a software business, that could be different. Like $1 million revenue SaaS project, if it's $1 million in MRR, ARR, recurring revenue, like that's already a business that big funds would be looking to buy at some crazy multiples. So it sort of scales differently for different business models.
Yeah. And do you recommend, by the way, sometimes there's people see, they think there's an advantage. And we talked about it a little bit with this Upwork example of kind of starting small, like working your way up until you get to the bigger things. But oftentimes when people get into that kind of a mindset, they miss out on the fact that they're not learning about the other levels of the process, right? By starting small. And maybe it takes them longer than if they were to jump to a higher level. And I'm curious if you have any sort of recommendations based on experience of like, should people start small? Like, should they start with like a website they can buy for $10,000? Or maybe actually just like anything that's cheaper, they might be wasting some of their time buying something that's cheaper, and they could be getting investors or waiting to save up a little bit more money and buying a business that's a little bit more substantial.
Yeah, that's another really good question. I think the optimal way to do it is a combination of kind of starting small and staying a little bit at that smaller level until you feel more comfortable, and then kind of doing a jump. So it's like a combination of kind of jumping, but also kind of going slowly, right?
Right, get your feet wet so you get the basics down, but don't hang out in the small pond too long.
Yeah. Well, once you learn to swim, you can go to the big boys pool.
Let's shift. We're talking here about people who are looking to buy their own business. Let's shift a little bit to the focus of someone who may be wanting to start this business of helping others buy their own business. I'm thinking about people who are in position to invest, folks like doctors. I've heard of several who will buy a subway chain or a commercial real estate or things like that in order to leverage their money. And those would be a perfect target market for trying to convince them to come to this platform and invest in growing an online business. Again, I'm stuck on this idea of how do we find the operators? And you have some ideas of getting started, manually making some connections. If someone were to try and do this without the experience that you have, though, at Domain Magnate, I imagine that you would have much of a head start. But if you didn't have that head start, how would you start making these connections?
I mean, we've brought this up before as a strategy for getting into and I'm going to keep using this word domain now just because it makes sense, but for getting into a domain, you could be either attend like conferences, either live conferences or online conferences where it's, the topic is buying and selling businesses, right? And then you can probably meet those connections when you're networking in those such scenarios. Even better, like next level, maybe you can host conventions or conferences online or offline or a meetup group or whatever, where you're going to bring all these people into the same place just by the nature of doing it. And you get the added bonus if you're organizing it or running it, that you're starting to be seen as an expert, before too long. I think the objection to that is that, oh, hey, but now you have to learn how to be a event organizer, right? But I think in general, something like event organizing is a little bit easier to access in terms of jumping in without a lot of expertise, just kind of knowing who to call and bring into the project. And what's kind of nice is it's a cross-domain skill that you can apply to other domains. Every time I say domain now, I'm just cracking up. But anyways, it's a cross-domain skill that you can apply to any niche that you're going to be in. Niche, there we go. We'll talk about niches.
Different one.
Any niche you want to be in, you could become an organizer of events and conferences and things like this. You could even start a podcast, right? You could start a podcast where you have, business operators on and investors, right? Be a great way to get started connecting people.
Another approach that comes to mind for me is setting up a deal with recruiters where you can poach top high flyers from some top companies. Like if you're a product manager at Amazon, for example, and you want to have your own thing, be more entrepreneurial minded, maybe you serve as an operator for us.
Yeah, and there's this book, I probably mentioned it before on the podcast, called The Last Safe Investment. And it's a cool book written by Michael Ellsberg and co-authored with another guy. I can't think of his name right now. Both really cool guys. But the whole book is about all these skills that you can build, that you can invest in, that have optimal value. Like you can learn how to mop the floor and clean a toilet. Great. I mean, that'll build your character, but it's not necessarily something you can leverage into multiple places. But these things like networking or hosting events or, communication skills and things like this, those are the things you can invest in, and your upside potential is a lot higher. The downside's quite minimal. Okay. So we've started our podcast, or we've started our event around this, and we start meeting people. And then, of course, the next step is to start connecting them. Like, how are we going to manage this first connection that we make? Are we going to try to broker this connection? Are we going to try to take a cut? or we're just going to do it for the learning experience, and just do it for goodwill and just hope that it works out.
Well, definitely not that. That's not in the spirit of the Run With It podcast, right?
Well, no, I mean, no, I would say there can be a lot of value. Like if you just want to gain experience, right, to doing something free of charge, right, to building your reputation in your name. Maybe it's not free in terms of getting paid. Maybe you collect a testimonial, right, like from the two people that you connected, and they say, oh man, you got to go to Chris because he's the connector. He just got me this, $1 million business deal, and now I'm operating and I feel really great. Yeah, I'm an investor. I feel really great. This is working out. And then you leverage that, onto the next step. But yeah, Chris,
exactly.
tell me how we can drain our new friends of their cash as well.
No, you're growing the pie for everyone, right? That's the entire point. You're not taking slices for yourself and taking things. I think that there is a way that it can be mutually beneficial. People don't have time to sift through candidates. If you have a ton of cash, you're a doctor, and you want to invest in something, you don't have time to go find an operator. You don't have time to find a business for the most part. So they end up investing in commercial real estate or buying a subway instead. So yeah, I think that taking some money to help them find the operator and find the business opportunity. Nothing wrong with that.
What's this? We talked about it on a way back episode. There's like a website that's all for doctors who want to be financially savvy and make investments.
Yeah, White Coat Investor.
Yeah, White Coat Investor. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a resource you could connect with, but you could also sort of build a similar brand that's all about, it's not just general investments. It's like, the doctor e-commerce guru or something like that, right? And then start building a brand and connecting people around that. That sounds like a great affiliate relationship right there. I'm sure the White Coat Investor would be very happy. He's already got an email list and lots of assets connected with, individuals who are looking for investments. If you bring him something good that his following is going to like, connect them with these operators and solve that problem. It sounds great.
Yeah, I know for a fact that he does that. Can't state the financial terms that he does, but it's reasonable. It's a reasonable payout. So I'm going to bring back this recruiting angle because I think that would be faster than starting a podcast or going to events and trying to find operators here. It's probably more expensive, but if you can get the doctor to finance it or to pay that part of the cut for the recruiter, then you can probably set this up quicker than trying to build up a brand and a podcast and all that to find these operators. So that's the horse that I'm going to choose to go on.
Yeah. So like, just to clarify, so I'll go find a recruiter who think they would be good at finding operators, right? That would be like the first step. And then, you could even have a conversation with them and say, are you going to be good at finding operators? Okay. Yes. You're very confident. Okay, great. Like, how much do you think it'll cost to find a good operator? Okay. That's how much it's going to cost. Once you get all that information, right? Now, you know the costs and, this person's confident. You trust, what they're selling. Yeah. All you have to do is then go to the investor and basically tell them how much it's going to cost. You can add a cut for yourself, or again, if you want to, start small and just make sure that it happens, right? And knowing that you're going to move on maybe without the recruiter in the future or whatever, or lower their margins. And it's nice because what's nice about it is you have a set price that you're trying to get from that investor, right? For the services. And if they don't bite on that price, then you either got to sell them differently or forget it. Like, it's a bad business idea.
Well, the other thing with it is recruiters are often used to being paid out over time. They may take a cut of the employee's salary for 12 months or whatever it is. And maybe they're not getting a cut of the salary in this case, but they're getting a cut of business profits for 12 months. That could be appealing to a recruiter who wants to be more entrepreneurial minded as well. You could also, I think that the best is if you build a platform, and you could start small. You could just make it a closed group, so you don't have to develop a lot of software in the beginning. But eventually, like having a platform that connects people
and then you can promote it and build a brand around it, and people will just come and join.
Yeah, I think that's true. You got to kickstart that, though. How do you kickstart that platform?
Yeah, that's probably the hard part. You have to probably do it manually. Find some operators, just a couple, find some investors. Maybe do the first few deals manually and then add it to the platform, or just start with big advertising campaign, or partner with some existing people that have big communities to help drive the traffic.
That's what I was going to say. If you create a platform and you connect with people that have communities where they're willing to shoot out an email that says, hey, there's this new platform going on, check it out, right? Maybe again you can establish some sort of affiliate relationship. If these people become paying users, or once they close their first deal, we'll send you back a cut, after they sign up with our service. That's definitely been a theme that I've seen throughout lots of businesses, is like, go where the customers already are, and don't try to find them yourself. Go to the person that's already done all the work to find those particular clients.
I'm looking down the line at churn, thinking about churn. I don't think that there'd be a lot of churn on the investor side, but I do think that there would be a significant amount of churn on the operator side, where an operator might do a couple deals with us and then go off and do something else. So you'd have to find this steady influx of operators. You guys agree with me that about churn for those two groups?
I never agree with you, Chris. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Investors, that's their whole thing. They don't want each new business they own to contribute materially to their to their time suck, whatever, and so they're going to try to keep investing more and more and make their time more efficient. The operators, maybe those are the people that just kind of really enjoy operating a business, right? So you can't operate too many businesses at the same time.
I'm wondering if there are companies out there who are focused on grooming CEOs and like an apprenticeship model where you follow the CEO.
It's called business school.
Well, I mean, that's not real world experience, right? But you could get good. Yeah.
But I mean, you might find some
higher MBAs.
Yeah, you might. I mean, I think I haven't been to business school and I've heard the rumors. Do you know what I mean? But I think like what you get in business school is like a training about how businesses work. And oftentimes I kind of feel like it's less entrepreneurial, like start your own business, although some people do that, and more, the logistics of how to operate a business, to be honest, right? That's what kind of business schools tend to focus on. And so, yeah, even though somebody might not have real world experience, it might be the perfect candidate, right? Because like you said, there's going to be an unlimited supply of business school graduates, right? So at least you'll have someone that has the basic knowledge to get started and get them from some of these higher tier universities, and at least they'll have, the intelligence and motivation to get rolling and do a good job. So I have another strategy that I think Michael would actually have some input on. You could find an existing business that has a similar audience or clientele or focus or whatever, and you could buy it. Right. And then you could leverage the audience of that business to kind of build it in the direction that you want to go. So maybe somebody's got an online business marketplace, right? Like, who needs another online business marketplace, right? Well, maybe somebody thought that there needed to be one, but it's not working out too well, but they've got some good, paying users and a list of people, right? And so you buy that business and you say, okay, I'm not going to focus on the sort of online business marketplace aspect. I'm going to go in the recruiting the talent, right, to manage the businesses aspect and focus on that part of it. So that could be interesting. Have you seen a lot of that, Michael? Like people making this decision to buy businesses to sort of leverage really a lot of times it's the kind of list of people that it has.
Yeah, absolutely. And
can we go even more meta and like be the investor and hire an operator of this business that we haven't started yet?
Yeah.
So you could buy the business that has the clientele, ask, an operator to join with the sort of long-term game plan. Hey, we're going to take this business and we're going to turn it into this business. Like, do you want to join in for the party? Come on board. Let's do it.
Yeah, and then the other question you would need to answer is how do you monetize it? And there is, of course, a few options. Probably the easiest is just charging a percentage fee from each transaction.
Right. And what do we think about, what are typical percentages? Are we talking 20, 25 or 5 or 10 or somewhere in the middle?
Well, the online marketplaces now charge about 15%, so it's like 10 to 15 for something like MPF flippers. And we are just a marketplace to connect operators and investors, so we probably have to charge less.
I'm smiling over here because this is just like, there's been times in my life where I get excited and I go on like these online business marketplaces and I think, I could buy a business. Like, this would be interesting, right? And I'm like getting excited about it now, and I'm all thinking about all the other things that are on my schedule, like in my calendar. And I'm like, no, Ethan, you're not going to buy an online business right now. But it's just $1,000. It'll be easy. Like, just get your feet wet.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
Right.
And it's easy. and you get to own a new business.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Chris and I should do it together. We should pick like a good one that has some complement to run with it. And then
I feel like you're gonna put me in as the operator. You're gonna be like
there you go, man.
That's your master plan.
I found the operator.
Like, you just told me how you have no time to do anything. Like, maybe we'll go in.
No, we can hire the operator together.
Okay, yeah.
You can get like a podcasting company.
Yeah, well, actually, to be honest, that's interesting. I never thought about this before. You know, we haven't gone too deep on Run with it with our website. Like, you know, we have kind of a standard website. We don't create individual posts or anything like that. But there's probably somebody who has a website that, you know, has affiliate links and products for entrepreneurs, you know, or whatever, you know, stuff like that. And maybe they're kind of getting tired of running it or whatever. And instead of building a website, right, we could buy a website that already has users and income, things like that, and then, you know, sort of convert it to the Run With It brand, and that's our website, right? And then Chris can be the operator, and I'll be the profiteer.
Yeah, perfect. Now, speaking of buying websites, I think that's a great time to transition to talk a little bit about what you do, Michael, for your full-time work. So tell us about Domain Magnate.
We are a micro private equity firm, so we raise capital, we raise funds, we operate different businesses for investors. Currently, we are in process of raising our third fund, and we also have different services for individual investors who kind of want us to go and buy them a specific business and operate it for them.
So what's the best way for a listener to get involved? Is it to become an investor with you, or...
Yeah, for investors, we currently only accept accredited investors.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are looking to invest, of course, they are welcome to visit domainmagnate.com or domainmagnatecapital.com for our new website, the new fund. People who have a business who are looking to sell it directly, if they don't want to go with the whole process with brokers and marketplaces, we are welcome to come and submit it to us so we can review and potentially send them a direct offer as well.
Yeah, super interesting. All right, Michael, I know that it's getting late where you are in Chiang Mai. Appreciate the conversation here. Thanks for talking through this idea with us. Anywhere else that you'd like to send listeners to connect with you personally? You shared some websites, but is that the best place for them to find you?
You're welcome to email me directly at michael@domainmagnate.com or follow me on Facebook. And thanks, Chris and Ethan. It was a pleasure to talk to you. It was actually quite an interesting conversation. Now I am thinking about maybe we should do it ourselves. Why did I just share this idea with the world?
That's perfect. We hit our goal. Well, it's been fun. Good chatting with you, and enjoy your evening. Talk to you later on.